Marbella is pledging free childcare and updates to the IVF law. Bernard Grech is willing to give up his car and use PN's new €10,000 incentive. And Paula Payne's clinic staff were strip searched and interrogated. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to tonight's edition of Lovin Daily. I'm your host Lisa, joined by Jonathan and Julia. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you had a nice weekend. We have a lot of great stories coming up, as well as an interview with independent candidate Arnold Cassola coming up at the end of the segment. So let's move to the first story, John.
Absolutely. We have a big first story to start off the show with. The Labour Party have unveiled a raft of new proposals. If you weren't aware, we are very much in the general election season. And today, Prime Minister Robert Abella pledged to extend free childcare to all children, irrespective of whether their parents work or not. So at a press conference this morning, Abella said that the children's allowance will increase by €90 a year for all 5 years of a Labour government if they were elected in the next election. This means that parents would receive €900 as opposed to the €450 that they're receiving right now. This wasn't the only thing that was announced. 7th-year students will receive a free laptop. If you remember a few years ago, Labour had rolled out a one tablet per child scheme. It seems like this will be extended now to 7th-year students who will be receiving a laptop. Students from low-income households will receive free internet as well as clothing. And not only that, but Robert Abella also spoke about IVF, in vitro fertilization legislation. He said that he will be expanding IVF treatment to allow more couples with infertility problems to become parents. So a number of new proposals from the Labour Party this morning.
It's absolutely election season, John. Everything's being thrown our way, but so far this is all good stuff. Who's complaining? The IVF law, I'm not exactly what the details are of it now. However, it is available to all Maltese couples, as far as I know, who would like to have a child. Unfortunately, if the procedure does not take on the first try, which is a very common occurrence, and then I believe it is against payment. Being a very expensive procedure, it is no longer a viable option for many Maltese couples. So if the update to the law includes making it accessible for multiple tries to Maltese couples, then I think it's a great proposal, and I hope that we can see this go through. Moving on to more proposals, Bernard Grech has said he's willing to give up his car and utilise the €10,000 incentive proposed by the PN to anyone giving up their car for 5 years. The payments would be made over 5 years, and this is of course encouraging people to get rid of their car and incentivise them to use public transport to combat a major issue of life in Malta, which is traffic on the roads. Other proposals include a trackless tram, a network of underground tunnels, and informing drivers of traffic accidents. I wouldn't give up my car on a whim. I might test out, using other forms of transport before giving it up, but hey, if it works, then why not, John?
I'm happy that Bernard Grech is kind of putting his money where his mouth is. This is quite a eye-catching proposal, being paid thousands to give up your car for years in Little Malta, where everyone has one car, if not more, per family household. So it is interesting to see Bernard Grech saying he would take it up himself. Now, obviously, only time will tell to see if that really does happen, but it is good to see kind of like not just a proposal made in the air, but someone saying, listen, you know what, I would actually do this myself. And it is very important to understand the reason behind this proposal. As Lisa pointed out, this is to promote alternative forms of transport. Traffic's a major issue in Malta. It's practically a daily issue now, especially now that the COVID pandemic is kind of subsiding. You're seeing cars right back on the roads. If there's something to encourage bicycle use or alternative forms, how can it be a bad thing? Moving on to the next story, a bit of a shocking story, a bit of an update to a viral story that we published on Friday. So Lovin Malta broke the news last Friday that the Pain Clinic in Paola, which is a wellness clinic that focuses on alternative options to pain management, including by prescribing medical cannabis, was raided early Friday morning with at least 3 staff members arrested, and it turns out that some of them were even strip searched by police. So Lovin Malta is informed that at least one of these staff members, which is a 53-year-old grandmother, was stripped and had her cavities searched. during this police raid, and then was taken to a police lockup in Floriana afterwards to be interrogated. Now, details are still very, very scarce on this story. It's still very early days, but trust me, I'm going to be on this. Lovin Malta is going to be on this story very closely, because this is the very first time that Malta's new cannabis laws that were passed late last year are being tested legally. So it seems that this case arose after a package of CBD flowers were intercepted by customs and police officers, with officers believing this was normal cannabis, THC cannabis, and not CBD cannabis, which is legal under Malta's new laws. Instead of testing it or verifying what they had, it seemed they decided to raid the clinic, arrest Dr. Andrew Juice, who runs the clinic, as well as his staff. Andrew Juice was actually held in police custody for longer than the rest of his staff. However, he has since been let out. Now, the question is to see if police will be charging the staff, and if they will be charging them with what. They could charge them with cannabis trafficking. However, the question really goes, was the plant CBD or THC cannabis? Because if it's CBD flowers, I think this is a gross violation by police, having a raid on a clinic, leaving patients without their medicine, let alone the strip search angle of this. So, we will be following this, and we will be updating you with more developments on the story.
This is it, John. The details are not very clear. Was it the CBD flowers? Was it cannabis? What are the charges that have been brought forward? This is a medical clinic at the end of the day, so making a raid on it makes making quite a statement. It also leaves a lot of patients in the dark about what they can expect from their treatment. Are they still going to have access to the drugs that they need? And so, as we said, this is an ongoing story, and we will be giving you all the latest news as it develops. So talking about a bit of caution would have gone a long way. Robert Abela is advising caution against treating every Russian national as a criminal in the wake of the Ukraine crisis. Bernard Grech has asked the government to stop receiving and processing applications from Russian nationals wanting to purchase a Maltese passport. However, Abela said that sanctions are being applied at what is agreed at EU level, and that we must maintain respect for the Russian community in Malta, many of whom are probably against the current tensions. I obviously agree that we cannot tarnish every person with the same brush, and just because somebody's Russian does not mean that they are pro-war. However, maybe halting, postponing, suspending applications from Russian nationals wanting to purchase a Maltese passport would send a kind of message that it is not business as usual. We have taken note of the conflict, and we are pausing these sort of interactions until there's some kind of resolution and some kind of peaceful resolve has been reached. Robert Abela went on to say that Ukrainian nationals suffering with serious oncological conditions, it's possible that they will be brought to Malta for treatment, and discussions for this are ongoing. So that is a very noble gesture by the Maltese government.
Look, the passport issue is kind of one issue, but tarring all Russian people in Malta with this war brush is definitely another issue. So I think we should definitely be having a discussion on whether we want to continue selling the passports in general, and specifically to Russian nationals amidst this growing tension. But yes, if you have any Russian neighbors, if you have any Russian friends or family, speak to them. I'm sure they're just as worried as we are for their family and friends back home, as well as in Ukraine. And on this topic, tomorrow we'll have Foreign Affairs Minister Evers Bartolo in-house to give us the latest updates vis-a-vis Malta in this escalating tensions with Ukraine and Russia. So definitely stay tuned for that tomorrow. Finally, the final news story today, a bit of a positive and delicious story to end the note with. A Maltese franchise, the first Maltese franchise, has opened up its own fast food drive-thru. Now, whether you are a fan of fast food or not, or whether you're feeling more vegetarian or vegan in these days, CFC has made a name for itself with its crispy fried chicken, and they are going to be opening a drive-thru in Ormy, the first Maltese brand to do so. So hats off to them. Now they'll be playing with the big boys, KFC, Burger King, McDonald's. These are all international franchises. So like I said, regardless of how you feel about fast food, it is good to see a Maltese business has taken it to this level. They'll be opening at 7 p.m. tonight in Ormy. It's going to be right next to the Pavi supermarket. The drive-thru will not be open today. They'll just be open for takeaway today, but in the coming days, they'll be opening the drive-thru. So get ready. You'll definitely be seeing me in Ormy in the next few days.
Stuffing your face with chicken, John. That brings us to the end of tonight's stories. Stay tuned. We have Arnold Cassola coming up. We're going to quickly shoot to a quick video, and stay tuned.
Quick question, election season, who are you voting for? Do you know?
No one.
No one. Why are you voting for no one this election?
They're all criminals.
Hey guys, Jonathan Chile here from Lovin Malta. Election season is very much underway, so we came to Valletta to ask one very important question. Who are you voting for? Do you know which party you're voting for?
No, not yet. Before there were some very clear distinctions between the two parties. Now not anymore.
Who are you voting for?
That's my business.
Is there an issue that you care about the most during this election?
No, the fact that Malta is grey listed and being looked at as a mafia state, I don't think that's good for the future of the country, to be honest.
First taxes, the second clean.
Is Malta too messy?
It is. From my opinion, yes. I'm sorry.
The wages, definitely. Yes, definitely the wages. Everything else, I'm pretty satisfied.
I can talk based on the migration side. Because as we are living in Malta, we pray the country should be built more good and they can have a lot of income inside.
It's a whole corrupt system, and it's a pity. I mean, I voted for Labour. I went against my family beliefs. I heard my father about it and what I got, and I got arrested. And because of the money laundering stuff that they're doing, they're trying to put it on us, so we get out of the grey listing, and it's horrible.
Then what's the one issue you care about most during this election?
People's mentality.
People's mentality. What do you mean?
The mentality in Malta about politics is backwards. So, it needs to change.
The green and environmental issue is very, very important. I think that the grey listing is not impactful yet, but it might be a big problem in the near future.
Greenery we have and the trees we have, they are being either uprooted. For me, it's a real big headache.
So guys, we spent the entire morning running around Valletta asking people of all ages who they're going to vote for, and very clearly they are not very comfortable saying the party or candidate on camera. Clearly, voting preferences are still very sensitive in Malta. Let us know in the comments below who you're going to vote for if you're comfortable with it. And until next time, this has been Jonathan Chile for Lovin Malta. And we're back on Lovin Daily. Today we've got a special guest interview, independent candidate Arnold Casal on the 10th and 11th districts. Arnold, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Grazzi lilkom. Ma ġibtilkom xej al kontrarju ta' Bernard Grek u Abela li qed jagħtu l-kulħadd iqasmu b'xejn.
It's true. It's true. So listen, you don't need any introduction. You're a veteran Maltese politics, Italian politics as well, actually. But let's focus on Maltese politics today. So for people who might not be aware, over the last few years, you made your name in Alternativa Democratica, the Green Party, strong on environmental issues as well as good government issues. But a few years ago, you left AD, and now you're an independent candidate. So before we get into the details, kind of how's that been? You've left AD, you've been on your own, you've helped bring a lot of stories to the mainstream, especially over the last year and two. So kind of what's the difference between being in a party versus being an independent candidate?
Naturalment, meta tkun f'partitu tirrifletti il-ħsieb ġenerali. F'partit hemm diskussjoni u mhux dejjem inti tista' tgħid il-pożizzjoni 100% li tiegħek. U hekk għandu jkun għaliex inti qed tirrifletti l-diskussjoni bejn nies differenti. Meta inti qed waħdek inti iktar liberu li tajt dak li tħoss. Naturalment, però hekk tajt il-ħmerijiet u xi kultant taħrablek xi waħda, ġifieri, ir-responsabilità se toħodha kollha int. Imma dana fisser għalija matul dawn is-sentej li jiena stajt noħroġ b'affarijiet li forsi kien ikun hemm min f'alternattiva jgħid li isma' di aħjar ma missuhiex u di le. Jiena forsi ħadd ir-riski, forsi il-karattru tiegħi huwa iktar impulsiv, passjonali, m'iniex naħseb iva ma xi kultant birraq u ħafna fuq xi tirrabja Malta, allura nispara ħafna.
So, something that when it comes to independent candidates and third parties in Malta is, always kind of the struggle to get votes, the struggle to convince voters. And from what I'm seeing from the polls this year, it does seem, unless something happens, it will be a Labour landslide from what we're seeing now. And I'm not really seeing major gains for third parties and independents. Many people say, why don't, AD, PD, they teamed up recently, why don't you, ABBA, for example, all the other Volt, Malta, why don't you all just form one big party? What's the reason that's not a good idea?
Mhix idea tajba li xinti hemm l-ideoloġiji. Kif tista' tara inti li l-alternattiva jolili flimkien mal-popolari, il-Partit Popolari li huma għandhom mentalità ta' destra, tal-lemin, u l-istess sa ċertu punt l-ABBA. Jiġifieri fil-ħajja irid ikollok ukoll ċerti eruq, ċerti prinċipi, ċerti valuri. Issa ħalli għalli veru il-ġiex partit l-kbar ħafna mill-valuri spiċċaw dal-pajjiż. L-uniku valur huma l-flus. U għalhekk li l-pajjiż qed imajna ħafna. U aħna qegħdin hemm u jiena qiegħed hemm għax naħseb f'din l-elezzjoni li ġejja mhux insejjerbaħ din hija storika. Mhux min serbaħ l-elezzjoni, x'tip ta' pożizzjoni se jkollna fil-oppożizzjoni. U jiena qed ngħidilhom tridu biss il-PN fl-oppożizzjoni, PN li mbagħad hekk jitkellem Portelli ma jgħidu xejn kontih li jagħtihom il-flus. Hekk ikun hemm problemi oħrajn jiena favur il-kaċċa l-kassa ma mmissuhiex. Jew tridu anki nies li lesti jitkellmu bħali u anki bħal oħrajn f'tielet partiti biex ikollna oppożizzjoni varja li lesta tmiss li xus kollha u mhux għax lili kien tani l-flus Sandro Ketkuti jew kien tani Jorgen Fenek għadu issa ma nistax nitkellem kontra dik id-ditta u kontra dak il-hotel. Le, hemm bżonn fil-fema tiegħi jinkissru dal-monopolju tal-bipartitiżmu fejn the winner takes all. Tinsix li hawn Malta, meta inti terbaħ l-elezzjoni mhux tieħu l-gvern biss, tieħu l-Bank of Valletta, tieħu l-Università ta' Malta, tieħu Sfin Malta, tieħu l-Manuel Theatre, tieħu l-Philharmonic Orchestra, tieħu Sports Malta, ġennata, tieħu l-ilma, tieħu d-dawl. Jiġifieri sirna isna fewdu tal-Medjuev. Għandek il-baruni medjevali li jieħu il-fiefdom u tieħu kollox miegħek. U mbagħad għandek il-frustrazzjoni ta' dawk li tilfu 50% -1 li jistennaw 15-il sena mdejqin forsi laqqas jagħtu l-aħjar tagħhom għall pajjiż għaliex qed nisaq għandna bżonn ngħaddu minn winner takes all għal give and take.
So what happens if Arnold Cassola is voted in?
Cassola is voted in, jiena naħdem biex inġib din il-mentalità li hemm li huwa pożittiv min-naħa tal-gvern naturalment appoġġjah.
Such as what? Is there any policies that you're seeing from the government that you do support?
Naturalment, inti jekk tgħid li se nagħmlu l-trasport b'xejn biex aħna innaħħu il-karozzi minn fuq it-triq, ngħidlek hija ħaġa tajba u din hija policy Ewropea. Però mbagħad fl-istess ħin inti tqabbad li illi imborċi wessali it-toroq b'nagħmilhom 4 lanes naqta' kull maw u biex imbagħad jiena l-istess karozzi li suppost qed ngħidlek toħodhom xħud l-basta l-linja u fl-istess ħin qed ngħidlek ġib iktar karozzi allura le, għalhekk inqum u ngħidha sew. Okay, l-istess ħaġa bħal il-buffonata 700 miljun biex nagħmlu l-ġonna. Mela l-ewwel infaqna 700 miljun biex tajna kull siġra li hawn. Issa se nerfgħu nofqu 700 miljun biex nerġgħu waħluhom bil-bżieq jew. Dat tmellih f'wiċċ in-nies jiena ma naċċettax. U nitkellem ċaru tont. Iva, xi kultant pereżempju suppost fil-politika m'għandix tgħidha l-kelma bżieq. Imma jiena ngħidha għax tinkun irrabjat, ma nistax inżomm.
So listen, when you're speaking to voters, constituents, what are they telling you? What are some of the concerns that they have this election?
Ħafna no, hemm il-biża tal-walkover li tinsix li inti għandek gvern bħalissa skandlu kuljum. Ġifieri issa ħaġa ta' bela 45,000 fl-istess ġur għax din hija għalija ħafna iktar gravi di ta' bela li bih x'ismuha u nsejt x'ismu bħalissa tal-karozzi. Għaliex dan inti għandek conflict of interest enormi u jiena ma nafx hekk dan hux trading in influence ukoll. Għax jekk jiena l-avukat tal-Planning Authority, jiena naf li on the 10th of December se jingħata permess li l-biċċart minn biċċart ċessir 6 flattijiet. Allura nixtrija ftit minuti qabel ma jieħu l-permess, dak f'temp ta' sija tgħid din l-art għolietek il-prezz tagħha. Għed barra minn Malta, huma affarijiet gravissimi daw, u hawnhekk għandek Prim Ministru li ma jwiġbek qatt, dejjem tajt kek ir-risposta u l-istituzzjoni qed jaħdmu. Li bija ma titmellax hekk, dispjaċini Robert Abela. Tista' titmellaħ b'dawk li jiġu nhar ta' ħadd quddiemek, imma bija u b'ħafna Maltin oħra ma titmellax. U aħna qegħdin hemm biex aħna inżommu dawn l-affarijiet.
What do you make of the opposition party right now? Do they have a good chance? Do they have good policies?
Naħseb ir-realtà hija ċarissima li l-PN se jkun fl-oppożizzjoni. Allura l-importanti hu li jkollna oppożizzjoni li hija effettiva. Il-PN kif idu llum huwa divis, mhux maqut u dajjef. U jiena naħseb li wara l-elezzjoni li jmiss se jkun aktar dajjef. Bħalissa maqsum. Delija li m'għandux laqqas vot wieħed, 0 qatt ma ħareġ għall-elezzjoni, huwa b'saħħtu ħafna u n-nies tiegħu. Immaġinak issa wara l-elezzjoni meta jitla tajjeb. kif se jkun. Allura għalhekk hemm bżonn il-ħana oħra li jitkellmu fil-Parlament u mhux jibżaw le għax Portelli finanzjar il-Krissaj, le ta' u Sandro tani di, le noqgħdu sejrin. Le ma tistax. U jiena l-ħabiba ta' Jorgen, tifhem li tani l-Armani. Le, nies iridu jitkellmu ċar.
So, you know, there's a daily scandal, as you said, there's stories coming out left, right and center. Why is Labour still so strong?
Naħseb l-ewwel net għaliex għandna il-nies li dawk li ngħidilhom li fissati. U li fissati qegħdin on both sides, ġifieri inti għandek jien ngħidlek 50-55% tal-popolazzjoni Maltija laqas nipprova nindirizzhom. Il-laburisti sal-mowt u n-nazzjonalisti minn ġu fommi dawn huma tant huma brainwashed li jinutli u hemm nies intelligenti ta' ma il-partit. Okay. Allura għandek dan nies li tixtrihom xejn. Issa hemm min tixtrih b'160,000 direct order, min tixtrih b'80,000, 130,000. Imma min tixtrih biċċa ġob messaġġier ma' xi ħadd. Cleaner ta' parsi daħħaltek mal-gvern, ma tkunx veru mal-gvern, tkun qiegħed ma' ditta. Jiġifieri hemm ukoll minnu hekk sfortunatament, jien naħseb il-Joseph Muscat u dan l-ikbar tort li jiena nattribwilu eżaspera wisq il-kultura tal-materjaliżmu, tal-valur tal-flus, anke l-kliemu. You are a net worth talented person only if you have millions. If you don't have the millions, you are a piece of shit. U din mentalità li daħħal Joseph Muscat tant kibret li l-ambizzjoni ta' numru ta' Maltin hija biss li jagħmlu l-flus li jidru fil-karozzi sbieħ, anki tara ritratti ta' daw il-kriminali b'xi tigra ma' rashom kollha b'xi l-jumfant fuq idintu, karozzi sports car waħda wara l-oħra, għax dak huwa l-uniku valur. Imma il-valur tar-rispett, pereżempju, tas-sinċerità, tal-lealtà bejn il-ħbieb, backstabbing, naħseb sfortunatament il-flus saru l-alla f'dal pajjiż mhux għax m'għandek bżonn, mhux għandek bżonnhom. Imma mhux l-unika ħaġa.
So you've, over the last few months and years, like I said, have been showcasing stories on your Facebook page, speaking to journalists, even at Lovin Daily, we've reported a number of stories that you've brought up.
Not enough.
Not enough. But now that it's election season, kind of what are the policies that you are pushing on? What areas or sectors that you care about the most?
Il-programm elettorali tiegħi li qiegħed fuq il-website tiegħi www.amilkassola.eu huwa bbażat fuq 3 pilastri. Irridu ambjent nadif, jixirqilna politika nadifa u rrid ikollna soċjetà ħanina li tħen. Mela 3 pilastri jixirqilna aħjar, we deserve better. U dawn huma naturalment l-aspett ambjentali, l-aspett soċjali u l-aspett tal-governance li Malta tbati bil-kbir minnu b'daw l-istejjer kollha u bil-problemi kollha li għandna. U inti qabel smajt in-news tagħkom, kontu titkellmu fuq il-passaporti, eċetera. Il-problema hija li aħna ma nistawx inkomplu din hija eżempju ċar tal-flus. Hekk inti x'anki r-Russi, aħna mhux qed ngħidu li r-Russi ir-Russi kollha nies normali bħalna l-kol. Però ir-Russi l-oligarki li jixtru l-passaport b'1,000,000, li jixtru x-ċittadinanza b'1,000,000, jixtruha għax għandhom bżonn safe haven. Minn fejn jistgħu ħafna minnhom jgħaddu l-flus, joperaw fl-Unjoni Ewropea, eċetera. Għal daw aħna qed ngħidu tbieħx il-passaport u mhux ir-Russi biss. Jiena ngħid tiġi skrappjata. U niddejja allura nisma' l-Bernard Gregg jgħidha u jerġa' jirrepetiha, dejjem always sitting on the fence, u jgħid le, aħna we will tweak. Imma se nibqgħu nbijawhom il-passaporti, mela take a position. Issa ħa pożizzjoni fuq ir-Russi minħabba il-kwistjoni li issa għana fl-Ukrajna. Imma ħada 3 ilu. Imma it's not enough. Il-kaċċa, Bernard Gregg da, il-kaċċa imħabba tan-natura. X'imħabba. X'isbuħ bawsa jonqosu jtieħ lill-asfur għall-jbierek. Ta' xi ġifieri. Li tispara fuq in-natura, li toqtol u teqret in-natura, tgħidilha din hija imħabba tan-natura. Hemm bżonn nies li jitkellmu ċar. U jien naħseb li nitkellem ċar fuq hekk.
If you're elected, what would you do on hunting?
Naturalment, imma l-ewwel ħaġa jiena nipprova nippuxxa li tinqata' il-kaċċa fir-rebbieħa immedjatament. Din hija ħaġa naturali, hija liġi naturali li waqt li għandek ir-rebbieħa meta l-asafar sejrin biex ibejtu, 3 ġimgħat wara se jkollhom il-bajt, allura noqtolhom il-mument li se jkollhom il-bajt u idealment as we go along, tipprova taqtaħħal kollox. Dak huwa proċess itwal, għax huwa kwistjoni edukattiv u ta' etajiet, imma bil-bżid żmien bħalma drajna llum li daħlet il-kannabis, meta 10 snin ikun kulħadd eċetera. Allora skużi, allora la daħlet dik ma tistax tidraw kol li ma tkomplix tispara fuq la safar, mela għalek biss tistgħu nagħmlu l-affarijiet.
And I do definitely want to note on the cannabis issue that Alternativa were one of the first parties in Malta to ever talk about regulating, so very much ahead of their time. Arnold, I wish I had more time to speak with you, but finally to close it off, people viewing who want to get in contact with you, I know you mentioned your website, but kind of where can people find you, where can people contact you?
L-iktar ħaġa ideali jew li l-email tiegħi għamilt kassura bladott @gmail.com, għandi l-Facebook, għandi l-Instagram, għandi Twitter, u naturalment hemm il-messages varji, eccetera. Naħseb in-nies jistgħu jsibuni u fil-fatt jsibuni għax inti titqis li ħafna 90% ta' dak li jien inġib fuq Facebook huma nies li jibżaw u jagħtuhom lili u niktibhom f'ismi. Jiena qiegħed hemm għal dawk li jibżaw f'dal-pajjiż imma qiegħed hemm ukoll biex inbidlu din l-atmosfera għax fl-2022 m'għandux ikun hemm nies li jibżaw f'pajjiż demokratiku u ċivili. Jixirqilna ħafna aħjar.
Guys, Arnold Kasol is an independent candidate on the 10th and 11th districts. You've heard kind of his views and his policies. Let us know in the comments below whether you agree, whether you disagree, what you'd like to see more of in this election season. Once again, Arnold, thanks so much for coming this evening.
Grazie likom tal-istedina.
I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. As always, for myself and the Lovin Malta team, have an evening full of lovin'.